Great to be with you. Um, as Amanda said, my name is Eric Brodsky, and I am the recruitment and outreach specialist for the School of Communication and Journalism here at Stony Brook University. The school itself, School of Communication and Journalism, began actually as a School of Journalism back in 2006, and we have morphed into the School of Communication and Journalism in the last few years. And I'll give you a breakdown of our majors and what makes us unique and special, and I'll give you some opportunities to visit some of our really cool spaces virtually, and just to get to know more about us as you head into the application season that we're in now, and then hopefully becoming a future Seawolf down the road. So we'll just go ahead and jump right in. Just give me a second. Here we go. So the majors that we offer at the School of Communication and Journalism, we have three main majors, and we start out with our foundation of journalism. So the journalism major is really what you would think of as your reporters, the boots on the ground, the reporters that are out there getting the news story. So it's those who want to work in traditional media. Important to note that the journalism major is ACE-JMC accredited. That's a really great distinction for you to look at if you are looking at other journalism institutions or schools that have journalism. Just take a look and see if they do have that accreditation. Something we're really proud of and work really hard to achieve. We have the mass communication major, and that's for students who want to study how messages are created and shared. Think of it as sort of digital messaging, digital media, everything, as we say right there, that's written, broadcast, discussed, and shown to audience. It's really, again, that digital media piece is really what they focus on in mass communication. That major was added in 2019, so it's one of our newer majors, but one that's really popular for students who, again, want to go sort of down that digital road just a bit. The newest major that we do offer that really exciting is the communication major. Now for those who want to study how communication works and why. Think of it as interpersonal communication, how we're having a conversation one-on-one. Students who are studying how that messaging is done, how that conversation happens and occurs, and where it leads to from that point. So communication major, actually we just started enrolling our first class last year. So really our newest major, but honestly, one of our more popular majors of the three. We have seen a lot of students who want to do that communication piece and study it at Stony Brook, which has been great to see students who are really jumping into that. So those are the three majors that we do offer at a glance. Journalism, mass communication, and communication. So again, starting out with journalism and then morphing into the mass communication and communication piece, but really strong in all those pieces and happy to be part of the Stony Brook atmosphere as part of that. So moving into what makes us so special. And this is a really important piece, and there's a number of things that go into what makes SOCJ so special. We know our students by name and by story. We are one of the smaller schools, if you will, at Stony Brook, but that's really a good thing for us too, because you do get that intimate attention from your professors. And knowing our students by name and by story is really a great thing. Every student has a story, and it's one of those things that I really pride myself on too, is knowing about the students who are applying into our programs, knowing what their stories are, knowing their backgrounds, knowing our graduating seniors, where they came from, where they're going, and again, what makes them so unique, and that's what makes us special as a school. So that's really one of the cool things you'll find from our faculty, from our staff, is we all do know each other, and that's one of the really great things as you're walking through the hallway. It's hey, how you doing? Our professors know you, get their office hours, contact with them, and it's really, like I said, a great atmosphere. Our students do receive personalized instruction and specialized opportunities. Personalized instruction, like I said, we're one of the smaller schools, but that's good. And even in your intro classes within us, you're really only going to have, say, 30 or so students within those intro classes. Those class numbers will get smaller as you progress in your major, as it does in any major. Specialized opportunities, I'll touch on that a little bit more as I get down to the Career Center partnership. So highly customizable degrees, and this is really cool to talk about. So we do have diverse elective classes. We do have faculty members that will specialize in climate change, in AI, in that journalism piece, in some of those communication pieces. So you're really going to get a really cool subset of elective classes that you can take as you progress through your major. We do have a 4+1 MBA program with journalism. So if you're a journalism major, you can then get your MBA in one additional year as opposed to the additional 4+2, which is what a master's degree is, usually 2 years, but you can do that in one additional year with a journalism major. So dual major options, I think this is a really important piece that I've seen come up a lot in the last couple of years with students who are entering into our programs. The School of Communication Journalism, within the journalism, mass communication, and communication major, those majors work really well with any other major at Stony Brook. It's one of those things where you can be an engineering student, you can be a science student and pick up one of the other majors that we offer as either a dual major or even as a minor. Our majors are not what you might typically think of as, nose in your book when you're studying for those finals. You'll get a lot of project-based things along those lines, but it does make it doable to dual major with, and mostly any other major here on campus. I'll also say that a lot of our students are dual majoring. I've had students that have done journalism and political science, if you want to go into that range. We're seeing students coming in with communication now and going a lot of different directions too. So as we evolve, so do the options available to our students. And that's one of the things that when I talk to students, their eyes sort of light up because they may have only thought that one of those majors was possible, but having that option to go out and do a lot of other things makes it really more attainable, and makes you more marketable upon graduation. I think that's really a cool piece. So, Career Center partnership, we do have a great partnership with our Career Center. We do have one of their staff members that holds regular office hours in our facilities once a week. She's currently doing Tuesdays from 1 to 5. But what she does is she really gets to work with our students about their internships, about resume writing, about mock interviews, and learning what it is that they want to do when they progress in their career, learning what she needs to do to get other employers to campus to specialize with our students because she is solely SOCJ's Career Center person. So when you think about what opportunities are, it's working with her and those options. I'll also note that on a regular basis, we do have faculty members and alumni faculty members who are sending out job postings to our students via listserv. So even today, we got something about the Wall Street Journal. And then we'll get things about maybe there's something upstate over the summer. It's pretty much a constant flow of what some of the opportunities are to get our students more exposure. Don't get me wrong, students are going out and getting internships on their own as well, but this does make it really attainable for our students to just have more of a broad range coming from either faculty members or working with career services. And again, finding stuff on your own too. Maybe you're not from local and you can find something at home over the summer. That's great. We just present as many opportunities as we can to our students. So it's just something we like to tout just a little bit. We do have some award winners, some of the major awards. We run a Murrow Award for some student work in 2021, and the Hearst Award, which is the one on the right. That actually we are just posting a flyer today in our hallways about Hearst Award nominations, and these are where students can submit their works to win these awards. It's very prestigious for our students. Great resume builder. And those are things that again we just like to sort of push out there that we do have winners, and those are both national. So when the awards come out, we'll actually be listed and you'll see that our names are up there among some of the bigger institutions across the country. So where do our graduates go? This also applies to internships as well, but these are just some of the big names where you'll see where some of our graduates, journalism per se first, and then mass comm as we're starting to get there. We don't have any communication graduates just yet because the degree has just started. But this is where a lot of our students have been. SiriusXM, I had a senior last year who was working over the summer as a playlist curator. I was talking to one of my juniors just yesterday and she's working as a playlist curator for a startup company. So our students are really getting into a lot of different places. News Channel 4 New York. I have one of my sophomores that was interning there over the summer, and he's looking towards getting another internship there upcoming. So there's myriad of different places you can go, and I think that's what I also speak to when I say our majors are so diverse. You can do anything with our majors. There's such a broad range of places you can go and fields you can go into. And sometimes it can actually be a little bit overwhelming where I talked to some of our graduates last year and they just weren't sure what it was they wanted to do. It's like, I want to be a journalist, but I'm not sure what direction I want to go. But you still have that foundation in doing anything. And that's the really neat part because we do give you those skills to launch yourself into other pieces. So hands-on student-centered learning. What you'll see right there on the left is two of our students working what we call the Roth Regatta. That's an annual tradition here on the Stony Brook campus, where students create these cardboard-based boats and they race across one of the lakes here on campus. Pretty cool thing that happens every year, multi-year tradition. But those are our students sort of working behind the scenes. We do a live broadcast for that. Our students are out there with cameras, interviewing people, and it's a whole showcase for the day. So the Stony Brook Media Showcase, their QR code is right there. That's a really neat piece where you'll actually see student work that's been posted by one of our faculty members. These are really in-depth pieces, be it there are news stories, there are specific pieces that our students are doing that they're writing on and they're interviewing. It is worth going into, and that is something we really do like to put out for students to get a taste of what some of our students are working on, legitimate stories and really centered pieces that they work on. So I do like to put that out to students just for folks to have a look at. And visit us anytime, anywhere. So I realize sometimes it's not the easiest piece to come to campus, and when we do get students, we do try and bring them to our facilities. We do tours of our newsroom during Accepted Student Day in the spring. We also have the TV studio where that student is. Though we do tours of those during Accepted Student Day in the spring as well. But you can do the virtual tour and just get a piece of it from where you are sitting in your living room, and just get a sort of a sense of what those spaces look like. But again, we do formal tours of those during the springtime during the Accepted Student events. And that is really a snapshot of who we are, what we're about. I've been with the School of Communication Journalism for the last couple of years, and I've never worked with better students in all of my career. They're really students who want to go out there and get after the stories and get after the internships, and the faculty members just have such a caring nature for who their students are and the successes that they have. So, as a school and as a tight-knit community that we are, there's just so much that we're focused on, and the ever-changing landscape of media, and that's one of the cool things that we get to really have our students focus on, which is really great. So if you're out there and you're sort of thinking about it, one of the big things that I say to students too is just know that there are options out there. I was talking to a student at an open house last week, and she was between engineering and journalism. I said, look, you can do both. Like, one of the cool things is you can do both, and that's one of the things that is worth understanding, that you can only declare one of those majors coming in, but knowing that you have the opportunity to pursue more than one is really one of those comforting thoughts when you're thinking about where you're going to end up going to school, because I know it's a daunting time. So I'd be happy to take any questions if Amanda hasn't answered them already, and we can take it from there.
Yeah, so I answered one question already. We are recording. You can watch this probably early next week, but we have a great question
Sure.
from one of our anonymous audience members,
Yeah,
which is
sure.
fine. Um, could you talk about any sports journalism courses or photojournalism? Those
Yep.
sound like very hands-on
Yeah.
things to
Yeah,
learn.
so that is a great piece. Photojournalism is wrapped into the journalism program, and we do have a sports reporting class that's actually wrapped into the journalism program as well. I'll touch on the photo piece first. We do have an equipment room that's located. Our offices are located. The newsroom and our faculty offices are located in the Melville Library, and that's a 4 or 5 story building. In the basement of that building is actually our equipment room, and we actually have an equipment manager. And that's where you'll find your video cameras, your DSLR cameras, and all the fancy equipment that you're going to use as a journalist. And students can obviously take those out, sign those out, and use those for your projects. And I will get the name wrong, but they just signed. They have an agreement. I believe it's with Canon for some of the most updated equipment, where they actually are on like this loan kind of exchange program, which is really cool. Students are getting the top technology to go out and do that. Um, and as a student, you're going out on campus and you're using that equipment. You're creating those stories. You're in the newsroom writing those stories, using the photo pieces. And if you go into that media showcase, you'll see some of those photo pieces that those students are using. Like, those aren't just photos they're grabbing from the internet. Those are photos that they're actually using, taking, and producing for these pieces. As far as the sports piece goes, like I said, we do have a sports reporting class, and there is a lot that we've started to dabble with as we are Division I sports here at Stony Brook, and we do have a great relationship with the athletics department, where actually one of the students that sits with me on the advisory board, he was writing sports releases for the athletic department last year. So I've been in the higher ed field for a number of years, almost 20 years now, and I say to students, like, you sort of get out of it what you put into it. So if you want to pursue that path, there are definitely connections that we can connect students to pursue those different avenues. One of the other big pieces that I will say, and that my student advisory board will also preach, is that joining organizations on campus, the media organizations, is a wealth of experience for you. We have what's called the Statesman, that is a student-run newspaper. There's also a myriad of other opportunities for students to take part in. But from writing to copy editing to photos, being a part of those media organizations helps you as you're going through the classes within SOCJ. I think that's really an important piece. And like I said, a number of our students are involved in some capacity with the media groups.
That's great. We had a question that came in that said, um, how can students connect with current students or alumni? Is there any kind of way that they could talk to someone who's either in the program or graduated from the program?
So that's one of the things that's where I come in. where if there are specific, if you'd like to be connected with a student, I do have a subset of students that I work with. We have a student advisory board. There are students who work directly with me, work directly with the dean, and just sort of help steer the direction of the school. And it's something that students can honestly just opt into. But I do have that network of students. I also work with the Career Center as far as alumni go. So we do have methods or ways to get in touch with certain folks. Also, faculty members, I can always tap them on the shoulder if they know of any alumni. So it's really one of those things of just finding the right connection for you to get you in touch with that person. But I mean, look, we're folks who do this for a living. They're journalists. They want to get out there and talk to people. So and communicate, right? Communicators and everything. So we do have those pieces. It's just a matter of finding the right connection. It could be just reaching out to me. It could be reaching out to either Amanda in admissions and then forwarding on to me. We can get you to the right person. It's just a matter of reaching out to us.
Thank you.
Of course, great question.
So we have a question. I don't know. I know that the filmmaking minor is not part of the School of Communication and Journalism, but
Right,
is like digital, the media, there's like a media arts minor, that's also College of Arts and Sciences, right?
right.
Okay, that's what I
So
thought.
right. So like, but we'll wrap in the social digital media pieces into mass communication. So like there are aspects of it. It's just not those other two minors are more are arts and sciences, not us. They can get confusing. We get that.
Yeah. Um, so if I am looking to potentially go into the communications or mass communications degree program, what what kind of careers might I go into? Like, what
That's
is
a
my
great.
future going to look
Yep,
like?
that's a great question. So I have a twofold answer to that question. The first easier one is that we are working with the Career Center to actually have career paths put up on our website. So it'll give you sort of a list of ideas as to where you can go. And that's something that, like I said, that a career services partnership, we are working together to develop those lists, and you will see that on the website in the future. The other answer, which and I apologize for being so broad, is honestly anything. But I think that's also the really great nature of what we do. Like I said, you can implement what we offer as majors into anything. It's just sort of a matter of being creative, right? Like we're giving you those skills to go out there and be a communicator, but you can use that communication to do anything. Like, you saw from the list of where our graduates and interns are going, is it sports? Is it healthcare? Is it the political realm? Is it anything? I mean, and that's really the beauty of what our students are doing. I feel like students often get hung up on the title of the major is what you're doing for the rest of your life, and that's sort of what it has to be, but it's honestly not what it is. You can use those broad-based skills to apply it to any field. I mean, you can be a mass communication major and be in admissions. You can be a mass communication major and be working in a hospital, or does that morph into like a PR thing for like a police department? There's so many millions of ways you can take any of our majors that, I apologize for being such a broad answer, but it's honestly the truth where it is sort of what you make it. And I think you'll find out what your passion is as you're going through. It's sort of where we start out with those very broad intro level classes. And then as you're going through, you say, yes, I really do have a passion for this. Where last year I had a student who was a political science, mass communication major, art minor. I don't really know how those all connect, but he made them connect and he's off finding his way. But again, we give you those broad-based strokes to find out your path.
That's great. And do most students, when they graduate, especially with like a journalism degree, do most go right to work? Do they go to graduate school? What's the market like if you have a bachelor's degree versus a master's or an advanced professional degree? I guess for any
So
of
yeah, so we do have a master's in journalism, but it's really not designed for our students in the undergrad program to sort of funnel into because a lot of the content is sort of duplicative. So what you'll actually find is a lot of our masters of journalism students are students from other fields who are coming in to get that journalism experience. Maybe I was a science major in another, in an institution and I graduated with a science degree. Now I want to do journalism, so I'm coming in for a master's in that. Um, So that's more so on the master side. It's not the direct, like you need to go get a master's in journalism. What our students are doing, what I'm finding now is that our students are laying those tracks as they're in their undergrad studies in like their sophomore and junior year, making those connections and figuring out what direction they're going to go upon graduation. So that's where you saw, the list of where those folks are going. They're making those connections as they're going through. So a lot of our journalists, I mean, our students, there is a class on the 400 level, which is senior year, where our students are actually writing legit stories for local newspapers. So they're actually getting experience writing their own stories as seniors. Where that launches to is sort of where that takes them beyond that. So you're actually getting real world experience, legit writing and publishing experience to have your portfolio to go out into the world after that. Our students are going all over. I've seen great stories about our students sort of being placed across the country. And it's hearing those stories too now about where our students are going locally with these internships. NBC4, obviously News 12, Newsday locally. We have a great partnership with SNY where our students are doing things there for halftime reporting for the basketball and football games. The list goes on and on and on. But again, a lot of it's those connections you're making, but the list is pretty endless.
And this question we actually get a lot from students from all different majors, but I think
Sure.
really an interesting perspective for journalism or communications in terms of being able to incorporate an interest in studying abroad, and then maybe incorporating that into like reporting or,
Yeah.
things like that. Very
So a
popular.
couple of options. So we have had students that have studied abroad during this semester, and you can definitely do that with our majors. Communication, I can't necessarily speak to yet because that's literally just started this past fall. But with the other two majors, we have had students that have studied abroad. That being said, there also is a subset of like a 3-week program that is offered through one of our faculty members. It's usually grant supported, where they'll travel for a couple of weeks abroad and do some reporting. That's actually on the media showcase, some of their reporting. Where they were in Nepal, and I forget where they were the year before. But there are some really cool opportunities where you can actually take and go into other countries and take these skills with you. And I think that's a really important piece because you really do get a different perspective when you see how things are done in different places. But we do offer, like I said, a smaller subset that usually a handful of students will get to participate in. We find out about that every year as students then apply into that little program. But definitely available. Like I said, can't speak to communication yet, but the other two programs, I know we've had students that have done it.
What about, is there an honors program or track within journalism or any of the others? Okay, so
No.
if a student came to Stony Brook and they were in the honors college or university scholars, would that be a way for them to get an honors experience and be in the major?
I think it will apply to any of the courses that we have because they're in that program first, and then our courses will just sort of complement it.
Okay, perfect. Um, let me see. So you talked about how there's a very kind of close-knit community,
Yeah.
very supportive community within the School of Communication and Journalism. Who's teaching the classes? Like, who are the faculty? Who are the people that the new undergrads will be connecting with?
Yep. So we don't have any TAs there teaching our classes. They are full-time faculty or full faculty members. They are a broad spectrum. We have folks that have been in the newsrooms. We have one of our faculty members that started with us back in '06 was with Newsday way back in the day. Um, our faculty members are coming from having the experience. And when you actually sit down and start talking to them about some of the experiences they've had, it's sort of mind-boggling as to what they've all done. And the thing, like we've had one faculty member that has gone off and done things with NASA and again, being in that newsroom and understanding it, and even to this day when they're still doing things outside of the classroom in addition to teaching you as a student really just sets the tone for the experience that you're going to get as a student and in the classroom. So when I have the time, I'll sort of go by and sort of pick their brain a little bit and understand what it is that they're working on and just what they've been doing. We have a radio station affiliation. It's called WSHU. It's an NPR affiliation that's located on our floor. And students can intern there where they're writing stories for that, and then they're getting experience, doing some radio production. And one of our faculty members has a managing editor role there. So again, there's so many different things that our faculty members are doing. It's sort of hard to keep track of, even in my mind. So that's where when I sort of have the chance to see them in the hallway, I'll just catch them a little bit. And just listening to them is just such a cool piece. The research that some of them get to do as part of what they're doing as faculty members, again, AI, climate change, things like that, where it trickles into the classroom teaching a little bit. And again, you get to work side by side with these brilliant minds that are doing such great things.
And it looks like we have another question,
Yep,
and this is actually a really good one because Stony Brook does have a university hospital, a dental school, a lot of health professions.
sure.
Are there students who are combining their interest in communication with kind of similar to what the Alan Alda Center for Communicating Science is doing and wanting to be kind of the go-between in terms of like healthcare and like knowledge that the general public would understand?
Sure. So I think that is an evolutionary question. I think that is definitely something that we will see happening. As I've noted, we just launched the communication first class is studying now. I do think we will start to see that happen a lot more, which is why I do bring up that, if you want to go into healthcare communication, I think that does become an option. Um, I don't have any hard data on that yet to provide aside from, I talk to students about that. And when I see students that I see it sort of bubbling in their mind that they have these different ideas, but we can actually make them connect. We do have as you noted, we do have a science communication master's degree, and I do see doctors who are going into that because they do have that background where they do want to be able to communicate what it is that they're working on. And there is a whole healthcare arm that is devoted to all this. That is just, again, we're sort of teetering on the explosion of that. But it definitely is possible. There's no hard data on our students doing that yet, aside from anecdotal of I've heard it and I think it will definitely be there.
And a question that comes up at least to admissions a lot is
Yeah.
what's a good student like when a student's coming in, like what kind of preparation do they need? What would make a successful Stony Brook
Yeah,
undergrad in these majors?
sure. So I love talking to our students at the open house events, at the accept student events. I love to hear about the experiences that you all have and what you all are doing in your respective high schools. And when I start talking to you and I hear about students who are writing for literary magazines, who are on your newspaper publication, writing for athletic publications, there are plenty of schools out there now that have these TV stations where they're doing the TV productions. All of that contributes to making you a better student with us. And because it gives you that framework and that groundwork, to know that foundation of, okay, I've done this, now I'm going to apply it on the collegiate level and make myself that much better at it. Plus, it gives you a whole different range of experiences because you're all coming in from these different pieces, you know, into this great school that can provide you these opportunities. So, you know, like I said, we know our students by name and by story, and that, we try and learn that as we go through. So, knowing about the student who wrote for that literary magazine, I met a student at last year's Accepted Student Day who told me she was a writer. She was writing her own book. It's knowing those pieces, sharing it with the faculty members who then sort of communicate it back to me and our advisors who say, look, you know, it's great that we have these students that are doing these cool things because you build on that, because you still have that passion ingrained in your mind that that's what you like to do, and that's what we will have you go ahead and do when you go out in the future. So that's really just a big piece. So what makes a great student? I say everything you guys are doing is part of, it's part of what the admissions folks will say too. Build up your resume. I think that's a big piece.
Thank you. That's great advice. I agree. From my 20 years in admissions, I totally concur. Well, those are all the questions we have. Thank
Awesome.
you so much to our audience for joining us this evening or this morning, wherever you're joining us from.
Thank you.
And thank you so much, Eric, for this great information. As I put in the chat, you can email admissions at enroll, ENROLL, at stonybrook.edu. And we will, if you want to connect with someone in the School of Communication and Journalism, you can let us know and we'll connect you to Eric and his team. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.